Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a profound and, frankly, kind of maddening mystery of the human mind that affects literally every single one of us. Today, we're exploring the architecture of negativity. I mean, have you ever wondered why one tiny piece of criticism seems to just camp out in your mind forever, while glowing praise fades away almost instantly? It's a completely universal and honestly incredibly frustrating scenario. You share your work, you give a presentation, or maybe you just put yourself out there, and the feedback starts rolling in. And at first it feels amazing. Okay, let's just imagine for a second that you just received 100 glowing compliments in a single week. 10 different people pull you aside to tell you your work is just brilliant. They say you're talented, creative, incredibly smart. Your confidence is completely soaring, right? You feel unstoppable, deeply validated, and totally secure in your abilities. You are basically sitting on top of the world with those 100 pieces of amazing, positive feedback. But then, totally out of nowhere, one person, just one single person, says 5 simple words. It could have been better. And boom, suddenly those 100 compliments completely vanish from your awareness. Just one tiny piece of criticism swoops in, erases all that praise, and completely ruins your entire day. Your mind just starts looping those 5 words again and again and again. Hours later, you're still agonizing over it. Days later, you can quote that single piece of criticism verbatim, but you've literally forgotten the names of all the people who praised you. So what is the deal here? Why does one single piece of criticism instantly wipe out 100 compliments? This is the central mystery we're cracking today. People are constantly searching for answers to this because, deep down, they secretly think something is fundamentally wrong with them. They wonder, am I just a naturally negative person? Am I way too sensitive? Is my brain just broken? Well, today, we are going to discover that your brain isn't broken at all. Actually, there's a much, much deeper biological reason for this, and it is rooted in the very survival of our species. To really understand your modern mind, we gotta take a trip way back into our prehistoric past. Imagine you're living 30,000 years ago. You aren't just surviving alone out there in the wilderness. You absolutely depend on your tribe for everything. Your tribe provides your food, your protection from predators, your shelter, your literal survival. If the group rejected you, your chances of living dropped to pretty much zero. Social feedback wasn't just casual small talk back then. It mattered more than almost anything else in your entire life. If one of our ancestors ignored criticism in 30,000 BC, it wasn't just a simple difference of opinion. It was a blaring red alert alarm. It was a clear sign you were breaking trust or risking your vital place in the group. Those who ignored that feedback risked total exclusion and, ultimately, death. But those who paid super close attention, well, they survived. They treated criticism as a life-or-death warning, they quickly adjusted their behavior, they stayed accepted by the tribe, and they lived long enough to pass on their genes. Treating criticism as an absolute emergency was an incredibly successful survival strategy. So psychologists and neuroscientists actually have a specific name for this deeply ingrained phenomenon. It's called the negativity bias. It is the brain's natural, hardwired tendency to give significantly more weight and attention to negative experiences than to positive ones. And here's the kicker. That survival strategy from 30,000 years ago, it didn't just vanish when we started building modern cities. It still lives right inside your brain today, silently filtering everything you experience. Picture this. You're walking through the ancient savanna. You come across 10 bushes. Now, 9 of them, so 90%, are just perfectly harmless bushes. Maybe they have some nice berries on them. But 10%, just one bush, is hiding a hungry lion. If your brain only remembered the pleasant, positive experience of those berries, you would casually stroll right into danger the very next day. Evolution fiercely rewarded the brains that completely ignored the harmless bushes, but intensely, vividly remembered the one hiding a massive threat. We are literally the descendants of the terrified people who remembered the lion. So listen, your brain isn't trying to ruin your mood. It's actually trying to protect your future. That horrible anxiety you feel when someone critiques your work, that endless obsession over a negative comment, it is absolutely not a flaw in your character. It is an ancient, highly effective, evolutionary bodyguard stepping in to keep you safe from perceived danger. But here is exactly where the whole system glitches in the modern world. Think about this profound mistranslation happening in your subconscious right now. When someone criticizes you today, your brain instantly and super unfairly conflates a simple, everyday critique with a terrifying threat to your core identity. The message actually spoken is just, hey, your presentation needs a little improvement. But your ancient brain's immediate translation is, you're not good enough to stay in the group. Because remember, ancient humans didn't just worry about being slightly wrong, they worried about being totally excluded. And if you have ever felt a literal physical ache in your chest after being criticized, science completely validates your experience. Social pain equals physical pain. This is a profound neurological fact. Modern neuroscience reveals that social rejection activates a lot of the exact same brain regions that fire up when you experience a physical injury. So when we say criticism hurts, it isn't just a clever metaphor. It hurts neurologically. Your brain is firing the exact same alarm bells for a mean comment as it would for a broken arm. And all of this creates a massive evolutionary mismatch. Back in the ancient world, your ancestors received feedback from maybe 100 familiar faces over their entire lifetime. Your brain evolved perfectly for that specific scale. But today, living on the modern internet, you can receive opinions from thousands of totally anonymous strangers in a single afternoon. And here's the truly terrifying part. Our ancient brains literally cannot tell the difference between a crucial tribe member's opinion and a completely anonymous, irrelevant comment online. We are just bombarded with comments, reviews, likes, dislikes, star ratings, constant public criticism. It is an absolutely overwhelming influx of daily digital feedback. And every single one of these tiny digital signals is intercepted by a brain that was designed for the Stone Age. It mistakenly treats every single thumbs down or critical review as a literal life or death warning, that you are about to be exiled out into the cold wilderness. Honestly, it's no wonder we feel so stressed all the time. Now, when we let this ancient survival system just run unchecked in the modern world, it changes our behavior in really tragic ways. Because you're constantly replaying that criticism, the fear just takes over. You become afraid to speak your mind. You start watering down your true thoughts because the anticipated social pain is just way too loud. And that tension just keeps building. You become afraid to create. You stop painting, you stop writing, you stop building your business. Your brain effectively forces you to hide your incredible potential, all just to avoid the possibility of future social pain. It completely convinces you that staying invisible is the only way to stay safe. Ultimately, you just become afraid to try. This ancient fear creates a heartbreaking trap in the modern world. And it's not because you're incapable. You have immense capability, but your brain is desperately trying to avoid a prehistoric threat that just doesn't exist anymore. But hey, we do not have to stay stuck in this trap. Consider this thought for a second. The people who grow the most are often criticized the most. Progress always attracts opinions. This completely shifts the narrative, right? Criticism isn't always a sign that you're doing something terribly wrong. A lot of times, it's proof that you are actually doing something really right. Every major inventor, artist, leader, and entrepreneur has faced immense criticism. Facing it isn't a failure at all. It is a totally necessary, unavoidable byproduct of real growth and progress. And the really good news here is that neuroplasticity is very real. Your brain can absolutely learn new patterns, and you can retrain your modern mind. So how do we actually do it? Well, these practical steps are how you start. Number 1, pause. Do not let that ancient alarm take over instantly. Number 2, question it. Stop and ask yourself, is this actually useful or is it just someone's irrelevant opinion? And number 3, separate. You have to intentionally separate constructive, helpful feedback from mere personal attacks. Which brings us to a wildly important habit. You must intentionally remember the positive. Remember, your brain naturally hoards criticism to survive. It's basically a negativity sponge. So if you want to thrive today, you have to actively fight that ancient instinct. You have to intentionally store the positive feedback. When you get a compliment, do not just brush it off. Write it down. Save that email. Truly dwell on it. You literally have to manually tip the scales back in your favor because your biology sure isn't going to do it for you. Your worth isn't determined by one comment. It's built through consistent growth. This is absolutely crucial to remember. Never ever confuse one person's isolated perspective with your entire complex identity. Your primitive brain really wants to make that one negative comment the whole story of who you are, but it's just not. Your true story is the long-term, consistent growth you achieve every single day. So, just wrapping this all up, look at the core contrast we've explored today. Our ancient goal was to remember criticism simply to physically stay alive. But our modern challenge is completely different. The goal today isn't to somehow eliminate criticism. That's totally impossible. The real challenge is to learn which voices actually deserve your attention and which ones just deserve your silence, because you are the one in control of the filter now. Your ancient brain did an amazing job helping your ancestors survive, but your future depends entirely on choosing what you keep and what you discard. So take a really good look at that criticism you've been carrying around for way too long. Look at the opinions of complete strangers that have been holding you back. What are you finally willing to let go? Thank you so much for joining me for today's Explainer, and I can't wait to see you in our next journey into the fascinating hidden psychology of the human mind.